1 month left of college football in the regular season. Well, BC, it just feels like they just lost to NIU last week, but things have gotten a lot better. And we'll talk about 5 storylines today that really will impact BC over the next 3 games.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. So, I'm the host of Locked On BC. I just want to say thank you to all our listeners out there. This is my 3rd year anniversary with Locked On. And before I kick off today's episode, I want to thank each and every one of you that made Locked On BC your everyday listen. I can't wait to show you some new things that we're going to have coming up soon. And to those of you who are new, welcome as well. So BC 6-3, which is incredible given that they started the season off 1-3, that we're now talking about potentially an ACC championship game. I know the odds are like 2.8%, but let's have some fun here. You know, you talk about bowl games, you know, where they fall in the BC pecking order and the real potential of ending the season off 9-3. I mean, it's very possible. You look at the last 3 teams BC has to play. If BC plays well, they could easily do that. Things are fun. You know, they're not playing perfect, but they're playing well enough to win. So what I want to talk about today are the 5 storylines that are going to dominate our discussions over the next 3 to 4 weeks. What's going to happen between the Virginia Tech game, you know, the Thursday night game against Pitt and against Miami. And I want to talk to you about those storylines right now. And to kick it off, it's the new talking point, a constant talking point here at Locked On BC, Thomas Castellanos. Now, if you listened to our podcast a couple days ago, you heard Mitch and I talk about Castellanos, and maybe we jumped the gun a little bit. I mean, my gosh, there's folks talking Heisman with him and the best quarterback in the ACC, and I'm very guilty of pumping him up just a little too much, because right now he has regressed a little bit. He's still doing enough to win every game that you're playing. And in that's awesome. But there's still areas that Castellanos has to improve if BC is going to elevate themselves up to that next level. To get past those, you know, constantly beating bad teams and only doing it by a couple points. He has that potential within him to be, as we've seen. I mean, you go back to the Georgia Tech game, to be electric, to take over a game and mask other things. But there's still areas that I'm just like, man, I want to see him get better at X, Y, and Z. So looking at his Pro Football Focus scores, I think it really paints a picture over his last 5 games. You go back, there's one really good game in there, and that's against Georgia Tech. His best game of the season, honestly, was against Louisville. But he had 50.5 was his grade against Virginia, 57.5 against Army, 80.1 against Georgia Tech, 61.9 against UConn, 63.9 against Syracuse. And so breaking that down, you have, you know, Pro Football Focus. If you've never looked at the grades before, it's like a school. Like you have a really good game, like Elijah Jones last week against Syracuse. He had a 92, I think, in that game, or 93. He got an A, basically. So Castellanos has a few Fs in there, and he also has a bunch of Ds. But you break down the grade to see what it is about him, and it's basically what your eyeballs have been telling you. It's his passing grade. Against Virginia, 44.2. Against Army, 33.3. I can't, that one I really can't blame him because he didn't really throw the ball at all. UConn 51.3, Syracuse 52.9. His highest grade passing came against Louisville. He also had a good passing grade against Holy Cross as well. So clearly he needs to get better passing. And I think that's something that we've all seen. This is, he's either made some passes where you're like, where the hell is he throwing? Who's he throwing to? Or he's missing wide open receivers. He's had some moments where you're just going, okay, this is not a top level quarterback. He needs to improve in X, Y, and Z. I wonder, and this is a statistic I can't find, but it's something that common sense just makes it too easy for me not to say this. If his statistics are better when he's on the move, I think having him planted and making him a pocket quarterback when he's passing is detrimental to his success. And here's why. Thomas Castellanos 5'2", and he has to throw over 6'8" Logan Taylor, 6'8" Ozzie Trapilo, both of them in cleats as well. So they got some good height there. Doug Flutie did that, but Doug Flutie also did a lot of his throwing on the move. I think I want to see Castellanos moving around more and throwing the ball. I don't want to see him, what was it? I think it was the Syracuse game, or maybe it was the UConn game. The announcer kept saying he just needs to stand there and throw it and work on his footwork. Nah, man, I don't care about that. I just want to see him moving, because when he moves, he dictates so much of what the defense does. So if he rolls out and it looks like he has then two choices. He can either roll and run, or he can roll and pass. And that's going to make that's going to stress the defense, because the defense is going to have to honor him running, because he's obviously very fast. I feel like that's a piece that's missing right now. And in terms of that, if you had him moving, you're going to get the ball out in better position, I think, than if just having him stand there. Having a 5'10" quarterback, just especially one that's mobile, just being a pocket quarterback, I just don't think it utilizes the skills that this dude brings, because he does bring a lot. The other piece is I want to see him improving on his decision making too. And these are all things I hope we see over the next 3 games. Perfect example, and I think it was the Syracuse game last time. He rolled out, which is perfect. Again, what I was hoping he'd do. And he rolls out, and he had, and the announcers mentioned this, like 30 yards of green field in front of him. And I don't know if it's because he's banged up, because that's something else that I think we'll find out more, is that maybe he's a little bit banged up at this point. But instead of running it, which we go back to the Army game or some of these other games where he just, lights it up with the running, FSU. Instead of that, he tries to throw it. And I'm like, what is he doing? Just take the huge play here. So again, he has only started 7 or 8 games at this point. I want to see him develop. I think that's the first big storyline heading into the games against Virginia Tech, Pitt, and Miami. In a moment, I'm going to look at 2 more storylines. One of them having to do with the offense, and one other one about a player. You're going to want to hear both of my thoughts on that in just a moment. Now, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the easiest way to turn $10 into $250 easily. All you need to do is pick some players, pick the over and unders on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could do things like picking Steph Curry with more than 29 points and Nikola Jokic for more than 10 rebounds. You get it right, boom, you win. But PrizePicks also has the ability to go across sports. So you can go, for example, LeBron James and Travis Kelce at a 10.5 combo of 3 points made and receptions. Makes things fun. That's what I love about PrizePicks, is that your imagination is the limit of what you can do. Like, you can think of a million different ways of making your bets. So PrizePick even offers a reboot policy, so it's giving you insurance, and with quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types, what makes PrizePicks the daily fantasy sports app. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. This is Locked On BC. I'm your host, AJ Black. Thank you all for listening. And I want to tell you, before we get into our next segment, I am the Eagle Insider publisher. I write over there with Mitch and BC Hockey Blogger. Right now, as basketball season's tipping off, we have a special deal. It's 50% off a yearly membership. If you want to support the work that we do, because I'm throwing these podcasts out to you free, come over to Eagle Insider and I will make it worth the money that you spend. I promise you that. With expert analysis on recruiting, expert analysis. I mean, Mitch's game films, BC Hockey Bloggers doing hockey stuff. We got basketball. We've got everything, all for the price of a cup of coffee. So come over to Eagle Insider, part of 247 Network. You get all the goodies from 247. It's 50% off right now. So go over there, sign up today, and support our work. Thank you so much. Now, let's look at the next thing that I want to see BC do. And it feels like the next, progression in the BC offense is that they've got to capitalize more on some of these drives. BC to start the season off, it was the joke. They were scoring 27 points or 24 points every single game. They scored 21 against Syracuse. They scored 21 against UConn. They need to figure out a way to score more. And they need to have bigger outputs. Like, you're playing against a Virginia Tech team that let up 240 yards against Louisville last week. Take advantage and score. Yeah, you're going to have to find ways for Castellanos to do what he does best. And I don't know if the offensive coordinators, Shimko and Chud, are more concerned about his health, but what we saw out of Castellanos at the very end of that game could be just an easy way of scoring more points. Like, Castellanos just took that game over on that last drive, and he threw a couple passes and then he ran it, and that was it. But you're going to have to find ways to score more points. BC has been getting lucky. Like, the defense has played very well against some bad offenses. I mean, last week you played against a backup quarterback. You played against UConn and Army. But you got to have to start putting up some points so that your defense isn't standing on their heads. How are you going to do that? How is BC going to do that when Ryan O'Keefe is hurt? Kai Robichaux is whatever. We don't know, because Hafley's never going to say. There's a lot that they can do. But I think, again, it goes back to Castellanos. Him moving around was going to make all the players around him better. And his ability to run the ball and get those first downs and move it, I think, is going to make BC a better offense. I just think it's the next level of progression for this offense, because we've watched, they for the most part can put together drives. They don't usually go 3 and out. And I love Hafley's aggressiveness on 3rd and 4th downs, but they got to finish these off. You got to get points. If BC, the way their defense is playing, if they can put up 30 points a game over these last 3 games against Virginia Tech, Miami, and Pitt, that's going to be tough, because I think the 3 of them probably have better defenses. But say even if you put up 27 points again against 3 offenses that are not very good, that's going to win you all 3 games. So how do you score 4 touchdowns a game? You got to be aggressive. You got to be able to do what you've done to get to you this point, which is run the ball, finish off drives, and get there. They got to do it more consistently, though. No more getting into the red zone. And oh my gosh, Castellanos can't make more errors down in the red zone. He's got to clean that up. So that's one piece. The third storyline that we're going to be watching for is who the heck is playing running back? So I kind of alluded to it just a second ago. We don't know right now what's going on with Kai Robichaux and Alex Broome. One of the great mysteries for Boston College fans and the media is the injury statuses of everyone. Just after the Syracuse game, Jeff Hafley kind of just said, "Oh yeah, we've known that Pat Garwo is probably out for the year. Ryan O'Keefe most likely will be out for the year, and George Takis is out for a long time." That's very different than what we hear during media scrums, where he says we're mostly healthy, which I get. I'm not ripping on Hafley for this, because there's no reason that he doesn't gain anything strategically if he tells the opposing team that they're starting wide receiver, they're starting running back and starting tight end are all out. It doesn't gain anything. It's just, as someone who covers the team, you can't go to practices because it's closed. You don't know anything. And then fans are like, AJ, what's going on? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. So what's going on with Alex Broome and Kai Robichaux? I don't know. Are they going to play on Saturday? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, Robichaux got hit pretty hard. So if he had a concussion, I wouldn't be surprised if he misses the game. Hafley used his usual non-answer to the injury question. He's hopeful they'll play. Yeah, he's hopeful everyone will play, and then they're gone for 4 weeks. Who knows? So if Robichaux is out, if Broome is out, how is BC going to be able to maintain their running game? Now, on our screen right now on YouTube is Cameron Barfield. I don't think he's the answer. This kid, he's coming out of Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, and he a pretty solid recruit that you grabbed, but he's 5'5". I'm 5'9", and I'm not even that tall. He's 5'5". He suffered a leg injury last year. He doesn't seem to have much in terms of explosiveness. No offense, just based off what I've seen. So what do? You can't go out there with Cam Barfield this week as your starting running back. Do you go back to Andre Hines, the feel-good story? I would go with that right now. If you don't have Robichaux, you don't have Alex Broome, go with Andre Hines. He's 6'2", 6'3", built big. He's just going to lean on the offensive line and get 4 yards a carry. He can do that. He's big enough to do it, right? The third option is, there's a third and fourth option if you want to get deeper down on the depth chart, is Dontrell Jones, who's a true freshman out of Catholic Memorial. He's 5'10", so he's a little bigger, but he's a true freshman. Who knows what he can do? And asking him to come in and be the every down back is a lot. So, he might be a better option as your backup, if he can do it. The final option is the mystery man of the last 2 years, Xavier Coleman. Yeah, he's still on the team. He played wide receiver, I believe, in the spring game, but we haven't seen anything from him really all this year. He is a running back, but just like Alex Broome and just like Cameron Barfield, I think he's 5'6", 5'7". They're tiny. Not tiny, because Alex Broome is huge, like in terms of big. They're just smaller backs. And I'm not sure smaller backs are the best fit for this offense. This offense is built, honestly, for guys like Andre Williams, A.J. Dillon, Montel Harris, Willie Green, those big wide running backs that BC has, David Bailey, those big wide running backs that BC has always had. You have one right now in Kai Robichaux, but we don't know what his health is. Will he play? We don't know any of this. And we'll have to wait till Pete Thamel, who seems to get all the fun news, on Saturday reports out whether any of those guys are going to play. It's a mystery. I would love to see Andre Hines have like a magical 3-game stretch here, but he's basically played a scout team running back position for the last 2 to 3 years. Can he do that right? Can he be the regular guy? It would be a fun storyline to watch and talk about, but we'll have to wait and see. So that running back position is going to be something we'll be watching over the next couple of weeks as well. In our final segment, we're going to wrap things up looking at the defense and the end of the season in terms of what happens from there. That'll be a storyline that we're going to want to talk about as well. Now, your ride or die is as important as anything else in your life. And at eBay Motors, sorry. I had an issue here with my ad read. If you are looking to score early this NFL season, FanDuel is the #1 sports book out there. FanDuel is so easy to use, and they have a special deal for you right now. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you're outside of the state of Massachusetts and you're looking at the BC game, last I checked, BC was a -1.5. Basically, that's even odds, maybe even a little bit more that Virginia Tech is a better team, but BC has the home field advantage. You feel good about that? You can go over to FanDuel, make your bet, and it's so easy to use. With spreads, player props, over-unders, and more, you can find it all. They have basketball, football, hockey. They got everything there. And when you just go over to fanduel.com/locked-on and kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Locked on BC, I'm your host, AJ Black, and we are wrapping things up here. And we are looking at, and I don't have the right picture up, I apologize. Oh, no, I do. No, I don't. I was looking for Elijah Jones, and I apparently put up another picture of Thomas Castellanos. But this is to talk about Elijah Jones, because we're heading into the home stretch, and we're looking at one of the best cornerbacks in terms of season productions that we've seen out of a BC cornerback in years. He has now 5 interceptions this year, the most since Hamp Cheevers in 2017 or 2018. And he's putting himself into easily being a all ACC selection. I think he was like honorable mention heading in this season, but he's going to be first team at the end of this. What Elijah Jones has done in this season is remarkable. Over the last 4 games, he's allowed 4 receptions for 27 yards and 4 interceptions for a passer rating, I think, of 12. I remember the statistics off the top of my head because it's just so incredible. He's had a tremendous season. I mean, remember what he did against Florida State. How many catches did Keon Coleman have? 0. The only blip on his entire season right now is the game against UVA, and it was 1 play. That stupid Hail Mary, which was partially his fault, but that, if you look at Pro Football Focus grades, tanked some of his stuff. He's been dominant, and against Pitt, who has no passing game at all, Virginia, who I think Kyron Drones threw for like 25 yards last week, and Miami's a mess. He could end this season as one of the best cornerbacks in the nation. I know Jeff Hafley has gotten some flack about the development of defensive backs, and folks are like, yeah, he's a defensive back guru in kind of a sarcastic tone. But remember what Elijah Jones was last year. Was he a very good cornerback? No. Was he solid? Yeah, but he had moments, and he was getting nailed for penalties all over the place. You're not seeing any of that now. He is amazing. And, just like with Castellanos, you like watching good players. The best player out there right now is a defensive back, and he's shutting down half of that field. Elijah Jones is going to be a great storyline to watch over the last 4 games. And of course, our final storyline is the biggest one I think all folks are going to want to know about, is how does this season end? Of course, there's the path. BC going to the ACC championship would be a magical end to a very crazy season. That is right now more of a I don't want to say pipe dream, but the odds are very, very low. But even if they don't do that, how could the season end that could be positive, and how could things kind of regress towards the mean? We'll start with the regressing towards the mean. They have 6 wins right now. I think it would be very disappointing if they ended the season 6-6, especially with who they have remaining, with 3 teams that are kind of struggling. BC needs to win at least one of those games. 2 would be beautiful. Ending the season 8-4 would be great. 6-6. The criticisms towards Jeff Hafley might, pop back up again if that happens. But if they win 2 of those games, they go 8-4, head into a decent bowl game. Hey, we're talking. And just think of it this way. If BC wins out and goes 9-3, this is the first time they've done that in 15 years. It's been a long time. You got to go back all the way through the Spaz era, the Adazio, go back through COVID and Jeff Hafley. 9-3. That would be an incredible end to the season. You would be getting, I saw someone tweeting about it today, I think it was Trevor Haas of the Globe. You'd probably be getting into the top 25 in terms of bowl playoff rankings. I don't think they'd be anything higher than probably 23 to 25, but still, that's progress. And you would be going to a kick butt bowl. Maybe something in Arizona, maybe one of the better bowls. Depends, again, as I said on yesterday's episode, what other teams are doing. But the end of the season and how things kind of roll out are all going to be dictated off the other 4 storylines I talked about. The running game, how Castellanos develops, how Elijah Jones works. Those are all going to be major storylines heading into this last month. But my last thought is it's fun again. I can't get a smile off my face because, as I said earlier to start this episode off, I've done this for 3 years, and for 3 years it's been miserable. We had the COVID year. That was whatever it was. Then you had Djokovic get hurt. Then you had last year's mess. Now you have this. And if you want to go back to what I've covered, I've been covering BC sports, I think, since like 2011. It's been some lean years. This has a potential to end as one of the best years in recent memory. And it just gets exciting. I've talked so many times about how bad things look and how, this guy's not working or this coach isn't working, to actually get to the point where we're now talking about like, hey, this team could be ranked. This team could go 9-3. Wow. This is fun. So, winning's better than losing. And is things perfect? I want to make sure you guys are clear that I don't think so. I think there's a lot that needs to be improved. But if that's the case, we could see some of that over this last month. This is AJ Black. We'll be back again tomorrow, where I'm going to be joined by Virginia Tech podcast. And I want to make sure I get their name right because they're not a Locked On podcast. I lost it. Sam no, that's not it. Sons of Saturday. Excuse me. Geez, sorry about that. Sons of Saturday. Virginia Tech podcast. They're going to join me. I'm going to be on their podcast as well. We'll be talking about the Hokies, get all that. And then on Friday's episode, we'll have Mitch on to give our predictions for the week. Got a lot to talk about. This is AJ Black. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Again, go to Eagle Insider, sign up today to become a VIP member. Hit the like button on this podcast. It does really help. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Share this with your friends. If you have BC friends that are looking for podcasts about the school, about basketball, hockey, football, we got it all here. Make sure that you tell them that you get Locked On BC, your team, every day.